All right, Khan, Shalom, Israel, Shalom to the Torah tribes, Yashala. Give me the course, all honor, glory, and praise unto the Most High God, Yahweh. In the names only God, Son Yahweh Shah. This is Brother Yashala coming back, Shah. We get another video through the Spirit by Yahweh Bashem, Hamashiach, Malak Yahweh Shah. All right, Shalom. So I'm gonna get straight into this. All right. So as you can see from the title of this video, be going into what? Gird up the loins of your mind. Now, what does that mean exactly? I want to get this precept real quick. What does that mean to gird up the loins of your mind? Let's go to First Peter chapter 1 and verse 13. It says, "Wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Yahweh Shah Hamashiach." So it says to gird up the loins of your mind. I want to get this in a different translation. What does that mean? Because of course your mind doesn't have loins. So let's go into a different translation and see what it means. It says in the NLT, it reads, "So think clearly and exercise self-control." That's basically what we're alluding to. That's what we're talking about, right? Exercising self-control, which if you want to accomplish and be great at anything, you have to do this. You have to exercise self-control, right? That goes for you. That goes for me. If I want to be great in a sport, I have to exercise self-control. I have to know how to deny my flesh and deny what I want to do in order to get that goal, in order to stay on the mission, and there's plenty of people that do that. Navy SEALs, they go through immense training. They go through a very, very vicious training. And the whole time they're strengthening their mind. They're telling themselves in their mind, if I miss this, if I don't do this, if I am a point or two off, I'm not going to be a Navy SEAL. And that's what they think about all the time, right? Within that training. In order for you to endure hardness, you have to what? Think clearly and exercise self-control, girding up the loins of your mind. It says, "Be sober and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation Yahweh Shah Mashiach." So hoping unto the end, having that faith unto the end, maintaining our strong mind unto the end. That's what we're supposed to be doing in this truth, which is going to be hard. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be hard to do that sometimes. And that's with again, like I said, that's with anybody, like an athlete or a Navy SEAL or somebody in the Army. Something that requires a lot of great physical, it is very physically demanding. You're going to have to, at some point in time, your body is going to tell you stop. Your flesh is going to tell you to stop because it's getting uncomfortable, right? It's getting uncomfortable. They don't want to go through it. Example, if you even want to take a cold shower, body's not used to that. Going to get into that shower is going to be cold as heck, and your body's going to say, "Get the heck out of here," or turn up the heat. Your body's going to start suffering because it's not used to that. And so what are you going to do when that happens? You're going to maintain your mind, right? That's the only thing that we have to maintain. We have to gird up the loins of our mind. When we're at, our body is giving out on us, man. Feet might be hurting, back might be hurting, might be cold, it might be hot. Your body is telling you to go eat something. Your body is telling you to go sit down or whatever. That's when we get stronger ultimately, when we deny that thing and keep pushing forward and girding up the loins of our mind. See, if you can conquer your mind, you can conquer your body. Your mind tells your body what to do, right? Your mind, it's your mind that does that, right? So let's go to the book of let's go to real quick. Let's go to the book of Hebrews, because the man that exercised self-control, the top person that did that, the top man that did that was Hamashiach Yahweh Shah, right? The righteous Yahweh Shah, the Son of the Most High. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 4. This is the book of Hebrews chapter 4 and verse number 14. It says, "Seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Yahweh Shah, the Son of God, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin." So Yahweh Shai, he was tempted in all points like as we are, but yet he was still without sin, which is something that we have to think about. Through all the temptation that Yahweh Shah went through, he was yet without sin, meaning that he was tempted at all points. He was tempted with lust. He was tempted with maybe murder. He was tempted with maybe whatever, men or women are tempted with. And he was tempted, or especially the men. But, he was tempted like us, yet without sin, yet without any iniquity. Why? Because he was able to master his mind, right? He was able to master it, right? You think Yahweh Shah went everywhere complaining? No, he wasn't doing that. Complaining doesn't help us, right? For anything. Why would it help us? You're just telling your body why, you're just giving your body more reason to give up, more reason to just quit, right? You're just adding that fuel to the fire. When our body's telling us to quit, but we have to go through this certain path in order to get some, it's like you're traveling down a road. And as you're traveling down the road, as it starts to get bumpy, as it starts to get, maybe there's mud there, it starts to get bumpy, or there might be whatever there, right? As it starts to get bumpy, what are you going to do? You already set yourself to go down this road to get to the certain place that you really want to go. You say you want to go there. So as it starts to get bumpy, what are you going to do? You going to turn back? You know, no, even though our body or, we might have second thoughts about something, second guesses about something, the Lord said to pull through, right? The Lord said to pull through with that, right? Let's go to the book of, um, let's go to John. It's the book of John, chapter 19, and verse number 30. I'm going to start verse 28. After this, Yahweh Shah, knowing that all things were now accomplished. So Yahweh Shah, he was set on that mission. He was set on that mission to complete whatever will the Most High gave him, to die for the nation of Israel and to fulfill the prophecies. So after he had known that all things were accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, saith, I thirst. Now there was set a vessel full of vinegar. So there was a vessel full of vinegar, and what? And they filled a sponge with vinegar and put it upon hyssop and put it onto his mouth. When Yahushua therefore had received the vinegar, he said, It is finished, and he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. So when he was fed that vinegar, he said, All right, it is finished. And he finally finished all the works that he had to do. He literally finished it, right? He endured unto the end. That's what we aspire to do, to have the same type of mindset that Yahweh had, the same type of willpower, right? That Yahweh had. Same goes for Paul. Paul had a very, very strong willpower, determination to get the kingdom. He denied women. He denied, just his pleasure, just so that he can get the kingdom of heaven. He said, I therefore endure all things for the elect's sake, that they may also obtain salvation, right? Which is in Hamashiach Yahweh. He denied himself. He was so selfless that he put others before him. This is a book of second Timothy, chapter 2, and verse 10. And it reads, I'm going to start verse 9. It says, Wherein I suffered trouble as a evildoer. So Paul, he was suffering trouble as an evildoer, meaning that he was being locked up. He was being persecuted. People wanted to kill him. It says, I suffered trouble as an evildoer, even unto bonds, but the word of God is not bound, meaning he was suffering. He said, like, damn, like, man, I'm doing all the work of the Lord, and I'm suffering like just how like a murderer would. I'm suffering just like how a thief would. I'm suffering just like how an evildoer would, even onto bonds, meaning being locked up. But the word of God is not bound, meaning you can't lock up this word. You can lock up me, but you can't lock up this word. That's what he was saying. Verse 10, Therefore I endure all things for the elect's sake, that they may also obtain salvation, the salvation which is in Hamashiach Yahweh with eternal glory. So Paul said, look, I endure all things for the elect's sake, that they also may obtain salvation. which is in Hamashiach Yahushua. So he was enduring all things, and he still had that mindset. He had that determination, that willpower to keep it pushing. You know, when things got hard, he didn't forsake the Lord. And the same goes for Job. When things got hard, he didn't forsake the Lord. He was determined. You know, he had that willpower. Even though his flesh might have said something, his flesh might have said one thing, but through his spirit, he was listening to his spirit the whole time. Let's go to the book of Matthew chapter real quick. Matthew chapter 20. Let's see here. Right. So like Matthew 26 and verse 41. Our praises. It says, "Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." So the spirit is going to be willing. The spirit is going to be willing, right? That spirit, your spirit within you is telling you to read. Your spirit within you is telling you to fast, pray, study, do the work of the Most High, go to camp. That's what your spirit is telling you to do. But your flesh is going to tell you something else. You know, for example, your mind might want to, even on a worldly aspect, your mind might want to go work out. But you might have those days in which you don't want to go. You don't want to go hit the gym. You don't want to go. You don't want to go lift those weights. You just want to chill out the house and eat cupcakes and ice cream. You know what I'm saying? And just watch Netflix or something like that. Look, on those days, the determined people, they're still going to go, even though their body is feeling sore, their body is feeling like trash or whatever. It's not about how we feel all the time. You know, when we kind of have to understand that sometimes it's not just about how we feel. You know, it's not just about how we feel. And once we understand that, be able to master that, it's not always about how we feel, but about what needs to be done, right? That's when we have reached that potential to be becoming like Yahweh Shah, becoming like Paul, becoming like Peter, becoming like Andrew, Bartholomew, the 12 apostles, like James, et cetera, et cetera. These men had that type of mindset. That is not about how I feel. It's about the Lord. It's about what needs to be done. You need to keep these commandments. You need to bring this message to our people. That's how they move. That's how they operate. Right? So let's get this as well. These men had tunnel vision, man, which is very, very, very commendable. People might commend people in the world like David Goggins. He has a very, very strong mindset. One of the most disciplined people, they say, that has walked the earth. And you listen to what he says. Look, he's very, very determined. And how's he able to build that up? By denying his flesh more and more and more and more. He says every day, do something that sucks, that you don't want to do. What that's going to do is it's going to strengthen your mind up. So again, if we can strengthen our mind up, girding up the loins of our mind, we can overcome lust. You lust because your flesh wants something, but you're not going to act upon that thing unless your mind, right, wants to, unless your mind allows it to. Just think about it. I'm not going to go over to this sister's house and just do whatever with her if my mind says don't. My mind says, look, I'm not getting in the car, we're staying here. Your mind controls your legs. Your legs don't have a mind of itself. Our arms don't have a mind of itself. So again, if we can control our mind, which is connected, really our spirit, we have control of our spirit and our mind, we're able to do a lot of things, man, and keep these commandments. It's not even going to be such a grievous thing. Just think about it, right? Now let's go to the book of Proverbs, right? Chapter 18, I think I want. This is Proverbs chapter Slovakia. I actually wanted Oh, okay. Well, it's Proverbs chapter 25. It's Proverbs chapter 25, verse 28. It says, "He that hath no rule over his spirit, his own spirit, is like a city that is broken down and without walls." So if we don't have any rule over our own spirit, we're like a city that is broken and it's like without walls, right? So if we don't have rule over our spirit, remember that your spirit is also talking about your mind. If you don't have any rule over your mind, your flesh, your body, etc., your spirit, it says what? It's like a city that is broken down and without walls. Back then in the ancient world, you had cities with walls. So, and those walls is to what? Protect and to guard. So if there's no protection, right? If you don't have, if you're not, we're not girding up the loins of our mind and trying to strengthen our mind that, in every way that we can, then we're going to be attacked by these demons. We're going to be overcome by these demons. We're going to be falling to Satan more and more and more. If we're not trying to gird up the loins of our mind, strengthening our mind, that's what needs to be done. And it's true. So that we can have an easier walk. So that when affliction and persecution does arise, we're not folding to it. Because our mind has been built up through what? Prayer, fasting, right? Reading, being diligent, denying the flesh more and more. In ways that, for example, fasting, you're literally denying your flesh because, of course, in your fasting, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be thirsty. You're telling your mind no. You're telling your body no. That's you denying the flesh. Even taking a cold shower. It, it's challenging to do that. Every single day, taking a cold shower, right? First thing in the morning. Doesn't matter if it's cold outside. Doesn't matter if it's cold. Doesn't matter if it's hot. You're still doing it. What that's going to do is going to strengthen your mind up because you're doing something your body doesn't want to do, right? Running a mile or working out. When you're working out, okay, it might feel good a little bit, but again, when you get to that third set, that fourth set or whatever, it's going to feel your body's going to want to give up. Your body's going to say, "Look, no, stop." But again, the disciplined ones, that those whose mind is greater than their body, stronger than it, they're going to compel and they're going to keep going. Right? They're going to compel themselves to keep going. So again, Peter, he understood this. In fact, Peter, it was written that he was hung upside down, crucified. Don't you think he had a strong mind? Right? Let's get that prophecy real quick. It's the book of John. Get that real quick. John chapter 21, verse 18, I think. This is John chapter 18 and John 21, 18. And it reads, it says, "Verily, verily, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou girdest thyself and walkest whither thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thy hands, and another shall gird thee and carry thee whither thou wouldest not." So the Lord said to Peter, when you were young, you were able to walk to and fro, you were able to do whatever you wanted. But when you're going to be old, talking about his death, thou shalt stretch forth thy hands, and another shall gird thee and carry thee whither thou wouldest not. So you're going to be carried unto a place that you don't want to go. Where's that place? To be hung and crucified, right? It says what? This spake he, signifying by what death he should glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he said unto him, "Follow me." So even after Yahweh Shai told Peter how he was going to die, he said, "Look, follow me," right? And Peter, he's like, "Damn, I'm going to die like that for you." And then he proceeds to talk about what's going to happen to John. And the Lord's like, "Look, don't worry about what John has to go through. Just worry about your lot, man." So again, Peter, his mind was up there in strength. Let's get that. Let's go to First Peter again. First Peter chapter 1 and verse number 13. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind. That's what we try to do each and every day. Strengthen our mind up, man. It's not always about, what I'm saying, how much you can lift. If you can lift heavy, that's cool. If you can bench press 315, all praises to the most high God. If you can do 20 pull-ups in a row, that's that's you strong as heck. Here's the thing though, right? Here's the thing. The Lord said, gird up the loins of your mind. He's not talking about your physical strength, not talking about your biceps, even though you might work out, that's all praises. But again, girding up the loins of your mind, that's what's important. Girding up our spirit, trying to have that protection. And that also goes into what Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 on down, putting on the whole armor of the Most High. What is that? That armor is not physical. That armor is spiritual. Putting on that armor of the Most High, that's spiritual. That you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Because the Satan, he's throwing these shots, all right? He's going to shoot lust at you. He's going to shoot that woman at you. He's going to shoot that man, whatever, at you. He's going to shoot these arrows, man. If we're not girding up the loins of our mind, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing if we're not doing that? Right? It says, wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober. And we have to be sober as well. There's no reason to be drunk right now. There's no reason to be just in the house of myrrh 24/7. You're just drinking your life off. There's no reason to be like the Lord said, be sober. Even in he says it again, 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walketh about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. So we have Satan out here. So we have Satan out here. So there's no time and no reason to be drunken right now. It says what? And hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach as obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lusts in your ignorance, but as he which have called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation, because it is written, be ye holy, for I am holy. You see that? So again, Peter's exhorting us that we should gird up the loins of our mind, be strong in our mind, be disciplined. Self-resilience. Paul, he talked about that as well. Let's go to the book of real quick. First Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 27. And again, it's going to be hard sometimes, right? It's going to be hard sometimes, but nevertheless, you have to keep pushing forward to it. First Corinthians chapter 9 verse 27. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means one have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. So Peter, Paul, right, et cetera, they had a lot of self-resilience. They had a lot of self-control. I mean, Paul, for him to be a eunuch in this thing, that's a lot of self-control, meaning that he wasn't dealing with Mary. He was solely focused on the Most High God in this ministry. That's a lot of self-resilience. That's a lot of self-control. I'm gonna get let's go to the book of First Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 19. It says, for though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. So Peter, or it's like Paul, just like how I said before through the Spirit, hey, even though he was free from all men, he made himself a servant of all, that he might gain the more. He made himself a servant. He served to their needs. He didn't even, he put himself last, right? Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse number 33. Even as I please all men in all things, not seeking mine own profit, but the profit of many, that they might be saved. That's that self-control as well. He could have put himself first, but he didn't. He says, look, not seeking mine own profit, but the profit of many, that they may be saved. And that's what we're doing every time we go out to camp. Of course, we're seeking our own profit, because woe be unto us that if we don't preach the gospel. But again, we're also sacrificing our time. We're sacrificing our lives. We're sacrificing, our we're sacrificing our body. What I'm saying? Present it as a living sacrifice unto the Most High God. for their sake. We're out there in the highways and byways, not just for us. We're there for our people, first and foremost, man. When we do these videos, not just for us, not just to look good or whatever, stuff like that. We're doing it for our people, right? It says, but the profit of many that they may be saved, right? So, nevertheless, again, going back to the main precept, we want to make sure that we're doing that, girding up the loins of our mind, strengthening our mind, okay? Because again, that mind, your spirit, that's the sole thing in this. That's that sole thing. That's what drives everything. Your mind and your spirit. That's what drives everything. That's what compels you to say the things that you want to say. That's what makes you do the things that you do. Of course, it's all through the Most High, but I'm talking about on a physical level. Your heart doesn't do anything but pump blood. Your heart is listening to your mind right now. Me doing these hand gestures, my mind is controlling them. It's not just doing it by itself, right? So we have to understand that the strengthening the mind is almost the most important thing in terms of what, right? Self resilience, self control that we all need in this truth. Imagine if we all had self control, the self control of Yahweh. If we all had the self control of Paul, if we had all had the self control of Peter, how great we'll be. Because these men had self control, these men had self resilience, right? They had that. So how much faith will we have? How much works will we put out? You know, how much how many times would Satan come and tempt us to do certain things and we wouldn't obey him and we wouldn't bow down to him easily, you know? Oh, somebody's yelling at you. You really want to say something, but you don't say it because you got that self-control. Say you just won over Satan. Easy. So you see how important it is for us to strengthen that mind up. So with that, all praises to Yahweh Hashem, Mashiach, Wamalaki, Habashah, Lord willing. This video is edifying through the Spirit. His brother Yasha Allah. Hey, Kwam Yasha Allah. The water for tuning in. Shalom.